Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Family Bearings. I'm Jared Campbell, your Kids Ministry Director, and in Family Bearings we go over what we learned this last week as well as what we're going to be looking at next week. Before we jump into that, I wanted to talk about what this next month holds for Kids Ministry, some of the different things that are coming up. Some of those are Good Friday. So on Good Friday we'll be meeting the 3rd of April, and so we're only going to have kids ministry up to 2nd grade. So 3rd through 5th, who normally would be meeting in the Pathways room, will actually be able to go to main service, and we're going to only have kids ministry up to 2nd grade. Eggstravaganza on the 4th. So this is a pretty exciting event. There's a lot of things going on. If you'd like to volunteer to serve at Eggstravaganza, we have a lot of different positions available, 30-minute windows of different things that are going to be going on, different events, stations. Another big thing, if you can't volunteer, is if you can bring in a bag of candy. So we're taking those candies and we're putting them into eggs. We're going to ask some of the life groups to put those together for us, as well as we're going to make sure that they're done and ready for the 4th. But if you can serve, that'd be amazing. If you can't, if you could bring a bag of candy, we're going to have a bucket that is available for you to drop off candy on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So if you have some, please bring it. Easter Sunday, we're going to have Bible Time Marketplace. So the way that we do things is normally we would have a lesson that's about 20 minutes. Instead, we're going to have about 20 minutes dedicated to what's called Bible Time Marketplace. We have different actors with different scripts where they're going to act out some of the possible scenes in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus when he's missing. And so where did he go? What's happening? And it's kind of just a fun time for the kids to imagine what it would have been like for Jesus to have died, to have gone to the grave, and then all of a sudden he's missing and people are like, where did he go? And they get to see these actors act that out. Beyond that, just a real quick thing that I wanted to bring up. If you have ever considered serving in kids ministry, please let us know as we switch to the different service times, because this weekend will be the first time we're changing service times. It's going to be 8:15, 10, and 11:45. If you would like to serve, let us know, because especially for the 11:45 service, the 3rd service, we are always looking for more people to serve. That's probably our smallest service, but that might change. When the pastors ask us to kind of shift which service we go to, people listen. And so we might be looking for more people to fill in some of those spots at that 3rd service. And so consider that prayerfully if that's something that you've thought about doing. Now, to get on to what we normally talk about on Family Bearings, this last Sunday, we saw Jesus as he sends off the disciples to go prepare a room so they can have the Last Supper. And so we went through Luke 22, and we see that Jesus is preparing himself as that Passover lamb. So we brought up with the kids the idea of the Passover lamb. They took that lamb in Egypt, in Exodus, and they took the blood and they covered the doorpost in order to protect themselves from being killed by the Lord. When he went through Egypt, he asked them to cover their doorposts that they might be safe. And in a similar way, Jesus is presenting himself as that Passover lamb. And ultimately, Exodus was pointing to Christ and that fulfillment of those things. But Jesus' blood is now what protects us from God's wrath. And so Jesus was preparing that. And then we also see Jesus say to the table that someone there would betray him. And that leads us into the next lesson we're going to see next week, which is going to be Matthew 26 through 27:10. And we see that Judas has been secretly going behind Jesus' back, and he is bargaining for more money. So he is asking for money to sell Jesus to the religious leaders at the time to give him up. And it was Jesus who was a friend, but he had bargained for money to give Jesus up to those authorities. And at the Last Supper, Jesus makes it very clear that he knows this is going to happen. Kind of playing into that theme we've talked about in the past, that Jesus is fully in control. That even though he's going closer and closer to the cross, none of this is a surprise to him. Even Judas sitting right next to him. I talked about this last Sunday to the kids, that kind of power and control where Jesus could look at him and say, I know what you're about to do. Go ahead and go do it. To show that type of control, it shows the power that Christ had, and that nothing that happened was outside of his original plan, outside of God's plan that he is sovereign, omniscient, omnipotent, and everything went exactly according to how he wanted to, so that we could know the gospel the way we know it now, that the things that God had planned for us since the beginning of time could play out through Jesus' life, and we could see how God is just sovereign over everything. This week in Adventure Club, so we're going to be learning about the rapture, and so we're going to be talking about that Greek word harpazo, where it talks about in 1 Thessalonians 4 how they would be taken up, and ultimately what we're going to be really talking about is Paul is trying to share hope with the Thessalonians, talking about, hey, we are not subject to God's wrath. We're actually going to be pulled out away from it. And so it's something to be excited for. When it comes to how we live because of that, there should be a joy and a peace and a knowledge that God is good and that he's going to protect his people from his wrath. But ultimately, we have a hope in the end times. We don't have to be afraid. And with that, we're going to be looking next week at the tribulation period. So that 7-year tribulation period, the Great Tribulation, and we're going to be jumping into where God pours out his wrath, which this week we're covering we are not subject to, that God protects his chosen people from that wrath, but will pour it out on the earth. With that, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop by on a Sunday, Tuesday, or Thursday. Come ask us questions. There's a lot of events coming up, a lot of things coming up. Feel free to ask me questions, Christina, Brenda. We would love to help you out. And prayerfully consider serving in kids ministry, especially as we continue to grow. We get closer to things like Camp Compass. We could always use more people joining the team because it's an exciting time, and God is doing amazing things in the church with new families, new opportunities, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.